Hello and welcome back. Oh my gosh, we've had a jam-packed weekend, and this is our final panel of the weekend, the final panel of the event, and it's going to be very, very exciting. So today with us, we have Neil Johnson from Events DC. We have Joey Gariziak from Shenandoah University, and our very own Evan Shubin from the Game Gym. Thank you so much all for being here. Neil, special thanks to you. Of course, Events DC is our presenting sponsor and has been supporting Game Gym since pretty much day one. So we really appreciate your support and, of course, you being here today. So we'll just go around first, introduce yourselves, but then we're going to talk about the MidAtlantic Esports Championship. So, Neil, if you want to talk about yourself first and what is it that you do?
Cool. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Hope all is well. You're enjoying yourself on this Sunday. Before I kind of get in and introduce myself and who I am and what Events DC is, I've just been saying I've been watching this spring summit for the weekend since Friday's been going on. Amazing job, Josh, Evan, the crew at Game Gym, Maya, all the interviews and everything. You've done an amazing job, in particular today. I love the interviews with Keisha, with Sugar Games and Katie Bedford. So just amazing job. My name is Neil Johnson. I am the director of esports for Events DC. In particular, I am the first director of esports here. So it kind of really shows the commitment that our organization is making to this space. At Events DC, we are the official convention and sports authority for the district. So our job is to bring conventions, whether it's corporate association, medical, whatever, to the district, as well as sporting events, entertainment events, anything that brings basically an economic impact to the District of Columbia. My role here, in particular with Events DC, is the point person for all things esports. So that's evaluating the strategy, setting the direction, evaluating opportunities, implementing activations, just everything, you know. So I'm definitely happy to be here. Like I said, excited about this program, and in particular, excited about this opportunity that we've birthed from the ground up with the MAC.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Events DC is an amazing organization. Like you said, it definitely helps bring everything esports to the DC area. And one of those things is Overwatch. You know, Events DC brought Overwatch to DC. And I think a lot of fans are forever, forever grateful for that. So thank you for being here, Neil. Joey, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, and I want to start by echoing what Neil was saying about what an awesome event this has been. I've also been watching throughout the weekend. The panels have been great. The competition has been awesome. Looking forward to more competition tonight. I've got two Rocket League teams in competition tonight, so I'll be cheering them on here in a few hours. But it's been great, Maya. You've been absolutely fantastic hosting this. It's no easy feat, and you make it look easy. So congratulations to you. You've been doing an awesome job. My name is Joey Gariziak. I'm the director of esports at Shenandoah University. I'm also part of the board of directors for the National Association of Collegiate Esports, and I sit on the board of advisors for NASEF at the high school level. And what we have here at Shenandoah University is, we have a varsity competitive team with an esports arena. That's what you see behind me here. But we also have an academic program and professional development program around esports. And I oversee all of that. I've started the program 3 years ago. On the academic side, we're 2 years old because finals are next week. So we're officially 2 years old at this point. And it's been a great ride so far. You know, we're bringing students in, trying to not only get them performing at a high level in gaming, but also taking it beyond gaming and teaching them skills to work in the esports industry, as well as industries outside of esports with some similar skills that you learn through that lens of esports. So we're big on professional development, education, and helping our students be successful by the time they graduate, whether it's in esports or outside of esports. And my job is, like Neil was saying, find partnerships, control activations, make sure things happen. Really, everything from the top down is what I'm in charge of here. And I have a great team of students and staff that I work with here to make it all happen. And really excited to talk more about the MAEC and how it came to be and what advantages it offers in the competitive space, but also so much more than the competitive space, which is very evident from this weekend. And looking forward, really excited to talk more about what the future looks like for the MAEC and all its member schools, and just really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, that was actually a great introduction. Thank you. And yes, we will talk about the MAAC in just a little bit. First, we're going to let Evan introduce himself, of our very own Evan of Game Gym.
Thank you, Maya. It's a real honor to be on this panel. I've just got to say that without Neil and Joey's support, the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference would not have been born, and Game Jam is especially grateful to Events DC and to Shenandoah and to Neil and Joey for all of their support, and we'll certainly get into more of that. I'm the COO of Game Jam. I've been on board for about a year. My wife, Michelle, and I joined the staff of Game Jam as investors and members of the senior team to help Josh run Game Jam and take it to the next level. We are committed to building the esports community here in the DC metro area. Rockville is our home, and Maryland has been our home for most of our lives, both the Hafkin family and the Shubin family. We're very, very happy to be here and to support the esports community in this area. So thank you, Neil and Joey, for everything you've done so far. And I'm excited to get into it and talk more and tell the story of how we founded the MAC together.
Absolutely. Well, let's launch right into it. Okay, so the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference. So all of you who are watching are already familiar with it because we have been broadcasting it concurrently with all these wonderful speakers that we've had. But now we actually get to hear the story of how it started and what it is. So please take us away, Neil. What is it, and how did it come about?
Okay. Well, I think you kind of have to go back to some of our previous activations with Josh and Evan and the crew over there at the Game Gym. We had been activating on a K through 12 level with the sponsorship of the District Esports League. I believe we are on our second edition of that. Started out initially with just Rocket League, and then this past, right now, culminating with Rocket League and Super Smash. That Smash tournament last night was awesome, by the way. And then also this is our third seasonal end of season summit. So we've had been activating in this space on a youth K through 12 level. And we were actually just kind of getting together. I know Josh and Evan had relocated from one location in Rockville to another. I went over there to kind of take it in, see what it looked like. And we were sitting here having lunch, and we were just like the three of us, just kind of like reminiscing on kind of what the activations year to date, what we have been doing, and just kind of threw out there, like, with so many colleges and universities here in this area, what can we do? What other area can we activate on that we can sit here and kind of move the needle and kind of have an impact? And I say that because I've only been here in the district in DMV for about a year and like 2-3 months. I'm coming from Las Vegas and working with MGM Resorts, and we've done a lot out there at MGM, and I'm proud of the team that was out there. But one of the things I always wanted to do was activate in that collegiate space. And in Las Vegas, we had UNLV, we had College of Southern Nevada. But after that, and because it's just so spacious, out there, that you really don't have that many universities within a geographic radius. And to sit here and be in the district and like have over 20 plus colleges and universities right here, then you extrapolate that out to the DMV in general, and just all the colleges and universities, to sit here and not activate, not have a presence on this level, it's almost like, how dare you? So we had kind of thrown that out there. And to be honest with you, Evan and Josh were receptive. There wasn't like, I don't know, we're not there yet. We're just kind of, it's the pandemic. We want to kind of pull back, make sure that we're okay. No, they met it. They were like, yeah, man, let's see what we can do. I think this was, I don't know what day it was. It was a midweek, Wednesday or Thursday. They came back, like, hey, let's have a meeting. Like I think 1 or 2 days later. And then after that, like, well, let's put something on the calendar. Let's check in with the local universities and get their feeling, gauge their feeling. So Josh crafted the email. He sent it out to about 25, 30 universities. They copied me, CC'd me on all the correspondence. And I'm just watching the correspondence come in, and Joey's like, oh, that'd be great. And other people, Lauren Long and from GMU and other people are kind of jumping in. And I'm kind of like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, this may really have some legs, man, because people are really kind of like jumping in on this. But it has been awesome. And I'm sure Josh, Evan, Joey, can tell you, when you're at ground zero and you have the opportunity to build something from the ground up, we cannot tell you how rewarding it is. The first press release, we announced the league on March 9th, and just everything, it has just been so fulfilling. to kind of where we're at right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? I'm actually not surprised at all that Josh and Evan were on board. I'm not surprised that there was so much interest because one of the things that I hear Josh talk about all the time is those capstone events, if you will, right? Like, so in Game Gym, we have classes, right? And so he always says, okay, well, what's next? Are our kids going to go compete at the end of the season somewhere so they can show off what they learned? And I imagine it's the same for universities, right? You practice and maybe you scrim against the teams within your university, but what's next? So what is that level where you get to go show off? And this is what it is. So I'm not surprised that there is definitely interest in it. So Evan, tell us a little bit about how you chose which schools to reach out to. You know, did you draw a geographic boundary, or how did the participation come about?
Yeah, so that for the this initial season, we said let's open it up to any school in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. And we hit the web and Googled and reached out to our networks, and we accumulated a list of schools in those three geographic areas: DC, Maryland, Virginia, and we invited anyone. And the conference is still open to any school in those three areas at this point. And as Neil said, we just got a fantastic response from the very beginning. That first Zoom meeting was in the middle of December, and we had 12 schools on it at that point. And at the end of the call, we said, "So look, do you think we have something here? We're not asking for you to sign anything right now, but are you interested if we move this forward?" And 11 out of 12 said immediately, "Yes, we're interested." And Joey, and as Neil said, Joey and Lauren Long and many others, Russ from Mount St. Mary's, we really saw immediately that there was an appetite for this. And so we continued to research and made sure, we covered all the bases. Any school that we thought would be a good fit, we wanted to reach out to them and make sure that they were part of it. And that's, how the cycle started was a Zoom meeting and then a follow-up email with a recap to make sure that everyone was in the loop on everything. And most importantly, that the schools had input from the very beginning in everything we did. And, Joey was his characteristic shy self. He didn't say much for the first 17 meetings and then, finally woke up and started talking. But I think that's something that's very important. And Neil has highlighted, and it was something we were committed to from the very beginning, that if we are going to build this, because there are plenty of other options for colleges and universities to compete and participate in conferences and leagues throughout the country, whether it's regionally located or not, we need to make sure that the schools are on board and that they have input on everything we do, the games that we're gonna play, the schedule, the type of season. All of that was important. And as Joey has alluded to, that the other benefits that we could offer to schools in this conference. And so from the very beginning, there was a real strong appetite for this, enthusiasm, and the schools were very vocal in what they wanted. And so we do the Zoom call and have the recap and do a survey on a variety of different topics that we had talked about and collate all those results, and then have another Zoom call. And then we said, all right, there is absolutely enough here. We're going to launch. We're going to do a spring season, and we started that season with 12 schools. We're up to 14 now. We had 2 that joined mid-season, and I am hopeful. I'm not going to jinx anything or name any names, but we have several other schools that have said that they're interested in joining us for the summer or the fall season. And so, we're going to continue to grow this, continue to provide the services that the schools want, the competitions they want, the other services that they want.
I think, like you said, one of the really important pieces is having the schools have a seat at the table and really have their voice heard. So, Joey, coming from the university side, when you're looking for events or competitions for your teams, what is it that you look for? What makes this conference different? What are some of those other benefits that Evan talked about that you think are really helpful for schools that really sets this conference apart?
Yeah, great, great question. I think there were like 4 questions in that question that we can get to. But when we heard about the idea of having some kind of conference located in this area, that was really appealing. Anytime you talk about more competition for your students, that's great because they want to compete. They want to do more than just coming into an arena, practicing, and having their scrims and going to class or going to their dorms or whatever. Having those competitions is great. Having high quality competition, even better. having high quality competition where schools get input on the type of competition, where there's not a lot of unilateral decisions, unless there needs to be, is always good to make sure your voice is heard. But also on top of that is the geographic proximity that we have, because we are creating rivalries, which is what makes traditional sports so awesome. And, we compete as part of NACE, National Association of Collegiate Esports, where we compete against schools across the country and Canada. And those are great. And there are some fantastic rivalries and great people we talk to. But being able to compete with people that are in your backyard and having those rivalries when you're talking about, competition, but also when you look at recruits for people that are coming to your school next year and having those fun conversations. I mean, I was actually just talking with Lauren on Discord earlier because we have a match against GMU tonight in Rocket League. And so she and I were talking back and forth a little bit about it in that friendly banter. And so having that is really, really appealing, because now it's like, oh, we're talking to, Mount St. Mary's, we're talking to Hood, we're talking to Randolph Macon and George Mason, and so that's really great to be able to have those rivalries so close together. And especially as we move into more in-person events where it's really easy to travel to these different venues and different schools, because now the value goes to students, and that's where the value should go to. We're giving our students an experience that you just don't get when you talk about nationwide competition, that everything is online, right? Being able to talk to somebody after a match and shake their hand or fist bump or whatever we're doing these days, after a match is great, because you're making that connection and developing that community of gamers across different schools, not only within schools but across. And having this conference being able to kind of enable that is really cool to see. Typing GG's in the chat and logging off is one thing, but getting up after a match and being able to talk to them and develop that connection and that network is awesome for the students to have that experience. So I was on board since day one, and I love that Neil and Evan and Josh and everybody's been so supportive of this idea, because it's what we need in this area. As Neil was saying, there are so many high quality schools in this area that we had to offer this kind of competition. And the guys at Game Jam have done a great job of setting that up with, like I said, high quality competition, not just, oh, go play this match here, go play that match there, maybe we'll broadcast some of it. No, they're doing a high quality broadcast for these matches. They're offering prize pools for these matches. And so there's a lot of incentive for our students to compete, a lot of say from our schools about what kind of competition we want to see, but also beyond the competition, beyond the gaming. It's offering things like having Mike Batt on here talking about career opportunities in tech related fields, not esports necessarily, but in that tech, the STEAM fields right here in the Northern Virginia area. That is critical for our students to be exposed to those kind of opportunities. So bringing in those kind of speakers, inviting students to be interns, and I think we're going to have interns working with both Neil and Evan. Um, and so that opportunity for students, not just at Shenandoah, but every school, having the opportunity for students to get hands-on experiential learning and something they're passionate about, there's no price tag you can put on that, because the value is through the roof. And so having that incorporated into, yes, the high quality competition, creating these rivalries, I mean, this is a no-brainer. And so it's been great, because from day one, they were asking all these schools, hey, what do you want out of this? Is this a good idea? Do you want to compete? And they've had multiple conversations, almost focus groups, if you will, with all these schools over the past, I don't know, 5, 6 months, to make sure that we're getting things as right as we can. Are there things that can be done differently and improved? Sure, absolutely. There always is. And I think we'll see that going forward, because the guys at Game Gym are so passionate about getting that feedback to make it what the schools and the students want out of this competition and beyond the competition. So there's a lot of good quality success that's about to be coming in the future of the MAEC. And I'm really excited to be part of it now, but also really excited to be in that continued conversation moving forward, not just for our schools, but for all the students that are involved in this as well.
And Maya, just the kind of piggyback on what Joey's saying, there are a lot of collegiate associations out there, as I'm learning, that are actually pivoting and going beyond the competitive stage, that they're looking at other stuff. But to really, like I said, we kicked this league off on March 9th, and to sit down here and have a college fair on May 16th, well, links to May 16th, and then something I believe is actually on May 20th. Within 2 months of the launch of the league, not only are we sitting down here kind of putting our money where our mouth is, but it's within 2 months, and additionally, it's not nationwide, it's right here. If you listen to Mike and those guys, I think earlier when you were talking, he said there were some 100,000 jobs that are available here. There are some 25,000 jobs that are entry level. I think the mean on the overall was like 116,000 in terms of revenue. I think on the entry level jobs, there's 75K on the entry level. So not only are we providing competition, we are providing direct results for people that live and breathe and activate and walk around in this specific geographic region. And then another thing to kind of to look at is, although colleges and universities can be a part of a number of different organizations and they're all great, I'm not sitting here saying anything, but our focus is specifically on a DMV. Anything that happens outside of these borders, that's great. If you're sitting here in one of our schools, is progresses to compete at a national level, that's awesome. But really, the only thing we care about is what's going on in this 2.5 state region of what's going on. So we're developing rivalries, and no longer are you going to trying to be pitted as a rival against a team in Florida, team in Arizona, a team in New York. No, your rivals are going to be right here down the street in Virginia, in DC, in Maryland, and I think we like it like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Couple of thoughts that I had was, Neil, you said it was such a quick turnaround, right? It started in March, and 2 months later, there are these career fairs and competitions, and 14 schools are participating. And I think part of it, or a big part of it, maybe the biggest part, is having these schools on board from day one, giving them a seat at the table. Joey, like you said, almost having focus groups. That's what we heard from Sammy in our last entrepreneurship panel. He said, step one is have focus groups. You have an idea in your head, but asking 100 people what they think about your idea is what actually makes it successful. So talking to the schools from day one, I'm willing to bet that that's what made it go so fast and grow so quickly. And the other thought that I had was focusing on local. I think that's really important. Yes, it's difficult during COVID, everything was remote, but as we go back to in person, like you said, having that fist bump, shaking the hand of your opponent afterwards, that's so important because you're building rivalries, but you're also building lifetime friendships and these stories. I mean, anyone who's competed in college and anything, I didn't compete in sports. I actually competed in mock trial, but we still, we drove to other schools and, we sat across from our competitors and shook their hands afterwards. And that's what creates your life stories afterwards. That's what creates community. So absolutely focusing on local, I think is definitely the way to go. But so that actually makes me wonder. So we have the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference here, right? For Maryland, Virginia, in DC. How common is it to have these conferences across the country? Are there other ones? Are there, are we going to be a part of a bigger conference eventually, or sort of where is that competition at the collegiate level going? So Neil, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think I'm curious to get Joey's take on this, because Joey is like the OGs on like the NASIF board and all this other stuff. But I'm just somebody who's jumped in the deep end because me, Evan, and Josh decided to sit here and try to form a collegiate league. So I've been doing the Cliff Notes version of everything else that's going on. But I think the focus on the local part of things has just been huge. I do think, I mean, there's NACE, there's NACEF, there's Learfield IMG, there's CSL Esports, and our member institutions are probably a part of, or EFG, they're part of all of those. But for us, it's like we just said, it's just focusing on this 2.5 state region, this 2.5 state area, and just providing education opportunities. And to your point, I am so excited and so happy that we have been able to deliver a college fair, and it's been promoted as part of this event. And just kind of talking offline, Evan and Joey kind of talked about the high school combine that we're looking at doing as well. We've got some wheels in motion as that, and with that regard. So just being able to deliver and being able to deliver in such a young stage, an infancy stage in this and Maya, you talked about not competing in sports, but competing in your field right now. And I just kind of went back to like my college days at the University of Oregon. I had walked on to the football team. I was a defensive back. So I played. I mean, I played on the team. I was in a fraternity. I did intramural basketball and stuff like that. But I would have just loved to have been in school when they had a university program there for esports. And I just remember in like my collegiate days and in my fraternity, I was a chapter president for Kappa Alpha Psi, and we went to other universities and just the camaraderie. Some of my closest friends are other fraternity members from the University of Washington, Washington State, Oregon State, uh, Cal State Fullerton, and some others. But those road trips and all those other things that just create bonds and just lifelong experiences. And you're experiencing this at a young age, 19, 20, 23, 24. You can't put a price on that at all.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And I want to piggyback off of Neil and talk about some of the other conferences that we are seeing where competition is. And by the way, Neil, I didn't know you were a Duck. Look at that.
Yeah.
All those jersey combinations and all the different uniforms out there, man, it gives me a headache trying to keep up with that. But I'm with you. It's cool to see what's happening right now. And if you were to ask me, what does the future look like in this? I'm like, I have no idea. My crystal ball is the cloudiest crystal ball out there, if not a broken one. I mean, it's who knows what's going to happen 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road with these competitions and these conferences. So there are these bigger I'll call them governing bodies, even though a lot of them say they're not governing bodies for esports. They organize competition. They have a lot of member institutions, but a lot of them are not as geographically isolated or, I guess, located, concentrated as the MAEC is. There are other conferences that do this. I know the state of Ohio has some great schools that also get together and compete together just in the state of Ohio. The Midwest has a lot of schools in close proximity to do the same thing. But there are things like I'm going to throw acronyms out there. There's NACE, there's Play Versus, there's ECAC, EGF, the NECC, the CCL. There's all kinds of opportunities to compete at the collegiate level. I think eventually the space is going to kind of galvanize a little bit more as we continue to move forward. I think that things like the MAEC are a big part of that, trying to organize things that maybe move under a larger national thing, where now you've got like play-in matches for a national competition like you see in March Madness with NCAA basketball. What if that's going to happen? I don't know. It's just something that might happen down the road. But I think we're also seeing a lot of traditional sports conferences now start to pick up and offer esports to their member institutions, whether it's things like the Big Ten or the Big East or the Pac-12. Those traditional sports conferences are now starting to offer esports as part of their offerings for their member schools, which is really good to see. But not every traditional athletic conference is doing that yet. So that's where the power of things like the MAEC comes in, is to bring schools together that are kind of grouped together to offer that kind of competition in this more concentrated area, which is great to see because Shenandoah University is a Division III school, part of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, the ODAC. I think there's only 2 or 3 other schools in the ODAC that even offer esports. So you don't really get good esports ODAC competition, but with 12 and soon to be 4, or I guess 14 and soon to be, I think, a lot more schools for the MAEC, we get a lot more competition to play against all these other schools that aren't just part of the ODAC, but are part of Division I, are part of Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior colleges. So there's a lot more opportunity for competition and to make those connections with so many more students. And I'm telling you, I can't. We got to travel some before the pandemic hit, and that was so much fun, not just for the students, but for me too. And I like traveling. I like meeting people in person and seeing different college campuses and different arenas to be set up in. It's so much fun. And so completely agree. I got to do that when I was at University of Georgia on our Halo team. And that was way back early 2000s, Halo 1, the only good Halo. And we were competing. We went to compete in different states, and it was cool to go talk to people after competitions. And Neil, you're right. That bonding opportunity to travel with your teammates, that you can't put a price tag on that either. I mean, it's so great. That experience is so great, and so we want to offer that to all students. And that's where geographically concentrated conferences like the MAEC and others that are popping up across the country are so valuable to all these schools that are looking for competition and looking for local competition.
Absolutely agree. You can't put a price on that. I just, as Neil was thinking, talking about it, and I'm thinking about the competitions that I've had, and just the sort of the community and the stories that come out of it. For example, we had one competition. Again, it was for mock trial, but it was among 3 specific schools, including mine. And so one of the things that we came up with was that whoever won the entire event got to keep this one stuffed animal for the year, and so it kind of got passed around. And by the time I got to that competition, it was already lore. It's been going on for years, so you get to be a part of all these fun things. So maybe the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference can have something like a gold-plated controller or something that we can pass around, and the winner can keep for the year.
Gamers will find something. Gamers will come up with something crazy like that. I don't know if it's a gold-plated controller or something else crazy, but gamers will think of something crazy to be able to have that kind of tradition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I want to hear more a little bit about the details of how this was set up and really came into being. So, Evan, can you tell us a little bit about how the structure of the conference came about? How did you choose the games that were going to be a part of it? Things like that.
Yeah, so everything went back to the schools and the Zoom calls we had and the surveys that we did. And you certainly can't please everybody, but we saw a very strong, appetite for these 3 games, for Rocket League, for Overwatch, and for League of Legends. That was pretty clear. And so that's what we set out for. And they all have, different parameters that you have to play by, especially Riot with League of Legends has some very specific parameters. So we wanted to set up competitions that made sense for the schools, and also that played by the rules that the publishers instill. One thing, when I think about the future, this compared to basketball or football or any collegiate sports that's out there, the publishers own the ball and the ability to update the ball and create a new ball and new rules. And I am somewhat concerned that the publishers may at some point make decisions that hurt the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference. And so we always have to be aware of that. And Josh and I have taken great steps to make sure that the publishers are aware of everything that we're doing and that we are following the rules that they have laid out for their specific games. So that's where, it was first the schools, first and foremost, what did they want to play? And survey, after survey and discussions, and certainly not perfect answers. And there were people that definitely listed games that we didn't offer, this season. But this was definitely the clear majority for these 3 games. And then play by the rules that the publishers have laid out. And then we got into, scheduling and that sort of thing. And Josh really worked directly with the schools on that. But again, it was doing our best to please as many of the schools as possible and make sure that as many teams could participate as possible. Neil and Joey have both alluded to this. We don't preclude schools from participating in any other competition. Just because you're a part of the MAC, you can do anything you want. The same team, a different team can field teams. Schools can field teams in any other competition. We don't want to limit anything. We don't want to insist that the MAC is their only conference for anything. And so that was important. But when you do that, then you've got to make sure that the scheduling matches up. And so that's where we came up with one Rocket League as a true sort of traditional season, right? Where 8 weeks, you're locked in, you've got a team and you play different teams, each week. And so that, Rocket League on Wednesday nights, that's where that came from. And then Overwatch, the idea was 3 standalone tournaments, competitions throughout the season, where schools really had the option to decide how they wanted to participate. And then League of Legends was sort of a hybrid of those 2, where there were competitions every single Saturday throughout the season, but they were standalones. So you didn't have to lock in for the whole season. And that, especially with CLOL, we didn't want anyone to feel like either they were stretched too thin or that they were potentially in violation of any of Riot's rules about CLOL participation, which we did clarify with Riot. You can still play, even if you're still in CLOL, even if you're deep into the finals of the tournament, you could still participate in our weekly League of Legends tournaments. But we wanted to make sure that there weren't major schedule conflicts and that schools didn't feel locked in to that whole season. So that's how we laid it out for this first season. And as Joey said, we're very proud. I think we did a lot of things right. I think there's a very high level of excitement and happiness on the part of the schools who are, of course, our most important customers. But we're going to do a debrief. We're going to have another focus group, if not more than one, very soon, and make sure that we hear from all the schools what they liked and what they didn't like, and what we want to do moving forward. What do we need to tweak? What can we do better moving forward? And this was a little bit of a fire drill. That very first Zoom call was December 14th, and from there we're now basically exactly 6 months later. And we've got a full season behind us. We've got a virtual career fair in a couple days, and we've got a high school combine in August laid out. So, and 14 schools participating. So it's been a great 6 month run. It's definitely been a little bit crazy. And so we're going to take a breath, and we're going to look at what we want to do for the summertime. Listen to the schools as to what they want in the summer, and then what they want in the fall and beyond.
Yeah, obviously, this is a very well prepared conference, with the research that you've done with the focus groups, reaching out to game publishers, making sure the schedules line up. It sounds like a lot of work, and it's definitely paying off. But I'm curious to hear, were there any unplanned pleasant surprises where you didn't expect something to happen, but it was like, oh, okay, wow, this is great. Neil, did you see anything like that?
Well, I think Evan had talked about it, but we started with 12 universities, and I think 3-4 weeks into the season, we picked up an additional 2. And we've got a commitment from another in Maryland, an HBCU, and we'll just leave it at that, for that's coming on for the fall. So I think just the word of mouth, and that's what you get when you've got, when you're focusing regionally, because we're so close. So I think that was a pleasant surprise. I think the other thing that I was surprised about, and we talked about, well, we didn't talk about this, but Maya, it was brought up during your conversation with Keisha earlier, and just talk about access, and stuff like that. The colleges and universities talked about Rocket League. They talked about League of Legends and Overwatch. But I was excited to hear that the other title that we haven't worked in on the MAC, but we're working in on the District Esports League is a Super Smash. And I'm excited to sit here and see that there is a place for console, and there is a place for other games, that aren't as pricey as a gaming PC. So for me, and just and looking at it from that D&I, perspective, I was very happy to sit here and that there is a place for console. There is a place for people who don't have the means to practice, come up, have access to gaming PCs, but there's still a place here. So I'm excited about that. So those were a couple of pleasant surprises for me.
That's excellent. Joey, did you see any pleasant surprises? Anything unexpected?
Man, I think the level of competition has been a little unexpected, because like I mentioned, we do compete in other competitions. NACE is a national one with schools from Canada, the West Coast, the mid, everywhere. And what we've seen is the level of competition here in the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference is second to none. I mean, it is incredibly fiery in a lot of ways, and and it's cool. What's really great and is that every single match is against a college that I know somebody there, and I reach out to them on Discord and we talk, and we again, we have the smack talk going on, healthy smack talk going on, which is great because I don't do that at the national level with schools that I don't know the people there. And so that has been a really pleasant surprise, is the level of camaraderie that everybody has in this area, because everybody wants it to be successful, right? And so we all are working together to make it the best possible opportunity for all of our students and all of our schools that we possibly can, because it's only going to help everybody out. And so that's been great. I think that I want to see more schools get added, and I'm not calling anybody out, but I want to see University of Maryland, University of Virginia. I want to see some of these other big schools get added in here. I think I do, because I want to keep winning. I like winning. And
some
these
of the anchors are huge. Yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
Maryland and Virginia, we need those
Let's get
anchors.
'em.
So if you're listening, guys, come on.
Exactly. Neil
Come
didn't
on
call you
over.
out. I'll call you out. Yeah. So I want to see these other big schools, because people need to realize that the opportunity that this offers to their students. And again, it's not just playing video games. Yes, that's a big part of it. Obviously, that's the core of what esports is. but there's so much more to playing video games and so much more what students can get out of it by participating in a league like the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference that there's really no reason not to join. And so I really want to see more schools continue to join. I'm always talking about to other schools how great it is, the competition, and hopefully we're getting more than just 2 or 3 schools next year. I'm working on about 4 or 5 other ones right now that we want to get added to this because it's only increasing the opportunity and expanding that reach and offering students all these opportunities to play and talk to different students and then bring everybody into the fold. So it's been a really pleasant surprise to really just see the level of camaraderie, see the level of support that everybody has, but have that friendly banter. And I think it's only continue to grow. And so the level of competition extremely high. GMU, one of the top schools in the country across games. That's why we're going to beat them tonight and show that we're actually the top school in Rocket League. So no, it's just friendly things like that, and it's just fun to be part of.
That sounds exciting. I do have a question about, you talked about, there are other opportunities besides competing. And so, Evan, I want to ask you, as you said, we're going to take a breath, we're going to reevaluate, we're going to have more focus groups, we're going to revamp, do more things. One of the things I'm curious about, we talked about in the other speakers and the other panels, is exposing students to other aspects of esports. So I think there's opportunity in this conference to allow students to participate not only as athletes, but also as shoutcasters, as folks running productions. Is that something that is currently happening? And if not, is that on the horizon for the conference?
Yeah, so absolutely. So first of all, one of my pleasant surprises was, and I probably should have thought of this, but I was a little too busy, but just the whole channel, the whole synergy between the Triple Crown events, the Spring Summit that's happening right now, and the college community that is part of the MAC as viewers of this content. In other words, when you talk about the great discussions that happened today and yesterday, I hope that a lot of college students from the MAC were part of those, were viewers of those discussions. So, that's the first thing. I think we're really expanding this community. And that was the idea for sure from the beginning when Neil and Josh and I sat down and started throwing it around was, raise the level of esports from K to 12 and then into college and then gamers for life. And that's what we're really trying to do with everything that we're working on together, everything that Events DC is supporting that we're doing. But we absolutely want students to be involved in any aspect of esports that can lead to a paying career in that area. So at their own school, that if there are opportunities for business manager or for casters and for play-by-play commentary and all of that, trainers, coaches, all of those. And if there are ways that the MAC can support that, we're 100% in favor of that. All schools, the only thing that we require is the competitions are broadcast on the MAC Twitch channel. But who's doing the broadcasting? And I mean every aspect of the broadcasting, students from the schools that are competing are welcome to participate in that. And we can help in a big way or in a little way. We can provide a game gym and the production staff here can provide the level of support that is necessary. But we want to give those opportunities to students at the schools that are participating in the MAC. So everything, when I look at a traditional sport like college basketball that then feeds into the NBA and the European leagues, there are only a small fraction that will get paid to play professional basketball, but there's another group that will get paid to be analysts and coaches and business managers and trainers. And we want to set up that same type of pipeline and give that same type of experience to college students that are part of their esports team and teams in that way. So however the MAC, however Game Gym can help support that, we're there to do that, and especially when it comes to the MAC competitions.
And just to piggyback on that, Maya, one of the things when you're kind of talking about just other avenues, and one of the pop-up Overwatch tournaments, we took a back seat and allowed one of our member institutions to kind of run point, and that's GMU with their game Mason. So our first initial pop-up tournament for Overwatch was completely ran by that college and university program. The shoutcasting, the actual competition, the production, the marketing and promotion of that, everything was done by GMU and in particular their students. So we are looking, and that's something that we'll extend for any member institution. You know, there are opportunities for us to kind of fall back to position the colleges and universities in particular, have them be front and center. So that is an example of where we did sit down here and kind of push and promote other avenues in addition to just the competition.
That's really, really good to know. So all those universities that you need to join, maybe you'd like to join as part of that. Maybe your students are more interested in the other avenues. So maybe you only bring one team, but a lot of folks who want to participate in those other aspects. But time flies when you're having fun. We're almost out of time. Thank you so much for being here. I want to give just a minute to each of you if you have closing remarks on. Do you have any thoughts on the future of where the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference is going, or just thoughts on where collegiate competitions are going in general? Neil?
Yeah, a couple of them. One, I think collegiate esports is only going to get stronger. You see it trickling down to high schools, junior highs, and elementary. I think it's going to be more regionally focused. I think it's going to allow for a more robust college experience, what we were talking about with you competing in your mock trials. I think in particular for the MAC, I think, well, in general for collegiate esports, but the MAC, I think media rights are going to sit down there and start to trickle down to the collegiate level. And then lastly, for the MAC in particular, as we get back to live events, we will definitely be looking to have competitions on member institutions' campuses. We want to foster and promote community. And then we want to have some of the championships here in the district.
Excellent. That's a great preview. Joey, how about you? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the exact same thing. Thanks, Neil. Why do I have to go back after Neil? This is tough. But it's the exact same thing. Is esports at the collegiate level is in such a great place right now. It's in an exciting place because it's always changing. There's always something else happening. But you know, as long as competition is more, or esports is more than just competition, offer students all the opportunities we can in and around esports. It's going to be in a great place for all students. You know, developing the community and looking at how esports can benefit students, you know, outside the classroom. You know, it's going to be such a big thing moving forward. And hosting events in person, I can't wait. We're ready, guys. We're ready tomorrow. Anytime, we're ready to host an event here, and other schools are too. And we're excited to get to other schools to see those people. You know, that's really where esports is going to shine, is we can host in-person things, especially for a game like Smash. You know, being able to do things in person is so critical for a game like that. So I'm excited about where esports is in general, collegiate esports. I'm excited what the MAEC is doing right now, and I cannot wait to continue to see it evolve and be part of that part of the conversation, because I know that it's in a great spot, and with these guys leading the way, it's only going to be very successful moving forward. So looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on today. Always happy to talk about collegiate esports and happy to do what I can for anybody anytime.
By the way, Shenandoah places fields like 3 teams in every title.
We're doing what we can. We're doing. We're gonna get GMU out of here tonight in Rocket League. We're gonna be the team to beat in Rocket League. Mark my words right now.
We'll get there shortly. I do want to give Evan a chance to give any parting thoughts.
Thank you, Maya. So first off, I just want to say thank you again to Neil and Joey for all of their support. They've really both been pillars of this community and the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference. And I want to thank our 14 founding members: Catholic University, George Mason, George Washington, Hood College, Howard Community College, Marymount University, Mount St. Mary's University, Northern Virginia Community College, Old Dominion University, Randolph College, Randolph-Macon College, Shenandoah University, University of North America, and Virginia Commonwealth University. We couldn't have done it without each and every one of those schools. And as we've all said, anyone, any school in the DC, Maryland, or Virginia is welcome to join, and feel free to reach out to me for more information. www.maec.gg and evan@gamegym.com. Thank you, Maya. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Joey, Evan, Neil, thank you for sharing the information about the conference and how folks can join it and be a part of it. Thank you for making it happen. I mean, you're honestly changing lives, like we were talking about, creating lifelong friendships and giving people those stories that they can tell their grandkids. Special thanks to Neil and Events DC for being the presenting sponsor of this event. This is our last panel. And as Joey can't wait, we are going to take a quick 15-minute break. And then we're actually going to see the competitions of the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference. So stick around. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Everybody.